Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar on a Certified Enterprise Lateral Movement Specialist CELMS launch webinar. I'm Nandini Bharadwaj. I'm the Operating Officer at Cyber Warfare Labs and I'm really excited to have you all here with us today. Let's get started. Okay, so before we jump on the main topic, let me give you a brief about our company. Cyber Warfare Labs is a UK-based edtech company. So this company is committed to addressing cybersecurity challenges with a real-time hands-on solution. Our virtual platform allows users to refine their skills through plug-and-play practical labs and a diverse range of certification courses. So the company has mainly two divisions. The first is CyberRange Labs. So this division focuses on providing practical real-time solution to cybersecurity challenges. Basically, it offers a virtual platform where user can engage in hands-on trainings through practical labs that are ready to use. And the second one is upscaling platform. So CW Labs offer a wide range of on-demand courses designed for individual at all skills level. So that is starting from the beginner to intermediate to advanced level individuals. And our services are available to educational institute, government agencies and corporate organization. Both online and offline trainings are available. So for more information, you can drop a mail to support team, that is support@cyberwarfare.live. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. Okay, so let me introduce to our speaker of today's webinar, that is John Serchin. So John Serchin is a red team security researcher at Cyber Warfare Labs. So with over 5+ years of experience, he is an expert in reverse engineering, malware analysis, Windows internal, and currently he is focusing on EV/EDR evasion projects. So that's it for the speaker. Now, as promised, we are excited to share that you will receive your attendance certificate within the next 48 hours along with the video recording of the webinar. But wait, there's more. So 5 lucky winners will have the opportunity to win access of this newly launched Certified Enterprise Lateral Movement Specialist, that is CELMS course. So the winners will announce shortly after the webinar. So stay tuned. And additionally, all attendees at the end of the webinar will receive a special coupon code allowing them to enjoy an exclusive 10% off on our CELMS course. So thank you for being part of this engaging session. We will look forward for your continued participation. And from here, without further ado, I would like John to take over and let's get started. And thank you. Thank you. I hope you will enjoy today's webinar. So over to you, John.
Everyone for taking out your time and joining this webinar today. So today's agenda is all about lateral movement and our new course list. So first we will talk a little bit about the lateral movement and then we will be announcing our new course which we are going to make public from today. So today's agenda, we will talk about the lateral movement, and after that we will discuss a little bit about the diamond ticket. Then we will come back to the slide again, and then we will start announcing the new course that we are presenting. And there is a giveaway as well, so which if you stick till the end, you will know about this. But let's start with the topic lateral movement. So normally this is the tactic followed by the attackers to move deep inside the network so that they can get some valuable information or they can infect more computers in the network. So this is the capability, the lateral movement is a capability which enables attackers see the attacker here. This is a perfect example to demonstrate the lateral movement. See, first the attacker will compromise the server, any server or the workstation, and he may or may not get the useful information from that server. And once he's in that server, he will try as much as he can to move from this machine to this machine, or from here to here, just to seek for the valuable resources or the higher privileges within the network. So why they seek for the higher privileges? It's because whenever the attacker lands on the initial machine in the enterprise, there's a high chance that they might be landed in a machine which does not have the higher privilege in the network. So they will seek for the higher privileges so that they can get even more valuable resources which are restricted to the normal users in that enterprise. So the more high privilege the attacker will get, the more critical information, he will be more close to the critical information in the domain. And another reason for the lateral movement is to collect the additional credentials. So sometimes what happens is, let's say here is administrator user, and here is another administrator user, and here is another administrator user. So sometimes what might happen is one hash or the password from this administrator user might be applicable to the another administrator as well. So they can take advantage of this. So the password is spraying and spraying the hashes. So this kind of technique is applicable in that case, because if the hashes match with the another user as well, they will get access to the another machine. And another reason for moving internally in the network is to infect the computer further. So the agenda of the attacker might not be only to steal the valuable resources, but also to infect the machines in their enterprise. Let's say if they are a ransomware team, they definitely are going to encrypt the information in the system, and they want to infect as many as the user possible. So various type of malware they want to infect the computers with. So let's talk about the diamond ticket here. So you may be wondering why diamond ticket? Because diamond ticket, if you search in the internet, it falls in the privilege escalation tactics. But why we are talking about the diamond ticket here? It's because we will talk about this in the lab as well, but it's simply that whenever you land in this computer, you cannot simply just go here, do some thing, and then you cannot simply move from here to here. You need to find, or you need to be in such scenarios where you need to compromise the misconfigurations, or you need to do more enumerations so that you could find very critical information which will push you to move laterally in the network. So this is the one of the technique or the approach that might lead us to the lateral movement. So the technique itself lies in the privilege escalation, but after running the technique, whatever we get will take us to the lateral movement part. And one interesting thing about this diamond ticket is it is similar to the golden ticket, but it has a little bit more advantage over the golden ticket. So let's talk about the diamond ticket first, and let's understand what it is. We will not talk about the Kerberos, but we will be looking into the diamond ticket. So normally in Kerberos, these 6 steps will be followed. First, it will ask for the TCT, and then it will receive the TCT, then it will use that TCT to ask for the service ticket, and when it receives the service ticket for the particular network resources, it's going to use that service ticket to access the network resources. So it revolves around the ticket. So here diamond ticket, if it was a golden ticket, this first and second step would have been generated offline. So that's the main goal of the golden ticket. So this step will never happen. The TCT will be forced offline, and that TCT will be used to get the service ticket from the domain controller to access the other resources. However, diamond ticket is a little bit different than that. So diamond ticket, it will not, you can do that as well, but normally it will not force the TCT. Instead, it will request the valid TCT of any user. It does not need to be the high privilege user. Let's say if you have compromised the very low privilege in the domain, very low privilege user in the domain, you can simply ask for the TCT of that user if you have the credentials. But here we will see in the lab, we do not even, let's say if you have compromised a domain user machine, then you do not even need to have the credentials, or you do not even need to have the privilege to request the TCT. So we will be doing that in the diamond ticket in the lab. So you will be not required the privilege and the credentials. But normally if you do it from the Linux machine, you may require the credentials, or maybe some other way to ask for the TCT. But in Windows, if you are in a domain join Windows, and if there is already the domain user logged in into that system and you have compromised that, then you do not require the privilege, not even the credential of that user. We will see that in the lab. Now, first of all, the TCT will be generated for the user, whichever it is login. And let's just assume that it's a very low privilege user. Now, once the TCT is received, before going forward, we will need one more information to force the diamond ticket. And this is the same information which is required to force the golden ticket, which is the key or hash of the TCT. We need the curb TCT hash or the key to encrypt that to force this diamond ticket. So once the TCT is received, the TCT is actually encrypted by the curb TCT hash. And if we have the curb TCT hash, then we can simply decrypt that TCT. So once the attacker has the TCT and the curb TCT hash, attacker can simply modify the ticket and then he can re-encrypt it. He can modify and re-encrypt it. So what it is modifying here is the pack. So here TCT has the pack information of the low user. Once it receives the TCT, the pack information will be modified with the high privilege user information. And once that pack is modified with the high privilege user information, that ticket will be of the sent to the TCT to request the service ticket from the service from TCS. And you may be thinking, if you already have the TCT, what's the point on generating the ticket? So what's the point on generating the ticket? Because if you have the TCT, you can simply perform the DC sync and then you can simply move laterally. Yeah, it's possible, but what if the anti-LM authentication is disabled? What if let's say you are moving laterally, but what if the user that you are using to move laterally had changed the password? So in the enterprise, there is there might be the policy for changing the password in every month or every 3 months. What if the user changes the password? So in this case, still we have the persistence because we have the ticket. We have generated the ticket when we had the valid user information. But when that ticket is when the user changes his password, then you can simply use that ticket to move forward laterally. It's because the curved TGT, the hash of the curved TGT might still be the same, because it's a machine generated user, and the password is also generated by the machine, and the length of the password is very huge. So also the Microsoft, they provide the minimum time for the curved TGT to be changed is the 6 months period. So in 6 month period, the that the curved TGT, it's a policy, like if this company has said that policy, they will change. If not, then the curved TGT has may remain the same. So in that case, you can simply move with the ticket. And yeah, another case is that if anti-LM is disabled, then those hashes will be not useful to move laterally in the network. That's why we also need the ticket here. And once the first TGT is sent to the domain controller, it is going to receive the service ticket, and then that service ticket is going to it's going to pass in the network resources, and then it will verify the service ticket, and only after that client can access the service. So why diamond ticket over golden ticket? It's because golden ticket, it does not send the AS request, but diamond ticket we can make a vary AS request. So that AS request, the three authentication step here, first, second, and third, the first authentication is missing. So it so the security tool might detect that. And another is that whenever you force the golden ticket through the Mimikatz or some other tool, there is a high chances that the expiry date of the ticket will be 10 years, and which can also be detected by the by most of the security features. So however, the diamond ticket is not that stealthier. So once every technique is identified, people will write the detection for that technique, but it is quite stealthier than the golden ticket. Now, what are the prerequisites for the diamond ticket? So valid TCT, curved TCT key, target user RID. So you need the RID of the user, and then the group where we want to add that user, group where that user belongs to. So here you can see, with the help of the reviews, we are mentioning the diamond, since we are generating the diamond ticket, and then we are using the TCT delegate. So here it is using TCT delegation to grab the usable ticket. We will talk about this in the lab. And after that, it's passing the curve key. So this is the most required information. Once you have the curved key, you will simply specify the ticket user as the high privilege user, and then you will specify the ticket user of the same privilege user, and we will see how we can get this idea as well in the lab. And then we will specify the group, and here 512 is a domain admin group, and after that we can even specify the past ticket flag here, so that it will automatically inject the ticket. But just for the understanding, we are not going to inject directly. So here you can see it's generating the ticket, it's getting the usable ticket, and here it is decrypting it, it is retrieving the pack, modifying the pack, and resigning the pack again, and then encrypting the modified TCT. And this modified TCT is now what we are going to take and then pass it as the ticket. And after that, you can see the ticket is now passed, and the server here you can see it's a curved TCT. It's not a service ticket, it's a curved TCT, it's a TCT. Now this TCT is injected in the current logon session. After that, we do not need to provide any credentials. We can simply use tools like PSExec to move laterally in the network. So up to here you can say it as a persistence, because you have the ticket. Now you can save this ticket for the future use. But from here, it's a lateral movement because we have gathered all the required information in this case scenario. Now once we have the ticket, and once the ticket is injected, we can simply perform the command injection. So here you can see we can simply spawning the command in the remote cell, and then we have also talked about the PSExec and some other tools um, in the course itself. So we have gone into the very detail like how these kind of tool work. So let's not waste time over that here. So here it is going to simply spawn a command in the target system, and once it is spawned, we will get a command cell here, and this is a very stable command cell here. And you can see we can also do who am I, and we are getting the result. And here is the command reference. Now we will be jumping into the lab, and we will be doing everything in the lab. So let's just jump into the lab. What I will do is I will simply restart this machine. So whenever you do something, let's say if you are penetration testing, if you are testing something in the Active Directory, and let's say if you inject the ticket, or if you do something like pass the hash or anything, then just make sure that you restart the machine one more time, just to make sure that you are not conflicting with the previous technique or the next technique that you are going to do. So if you are doing the just the normal text testing in your lab, it's not in the realistic scenario. Whenever you are doing in a field, it will you're not going to do that. But whenever you are practicing in on your own local lab, then it's better to restart the machine, so that we can do everything very clean, and then we can uh, okay, let's wait for a few minutes. Not few, but I think in 1 minute it will be available. Okay, really sorry for the previous interruption, but let's start now. Okay, so to avoid any human errors and for the time efficiency, I have documented every commands that needs to be executed to craft the domain, diamond ticket. Also, we make sure that the defender, the defender is turned off. It's because that these tools are highly malicious for the organizations and for the network. It's uh, very these tools brings a very serious security concerns. So that's why yeah, antiviruses, they can they do not withstand with this kind of tools, so they will simply detect that. Okay, we have turned off the antivirus, so let's just go to the tools where we have all the tools. Okay, also see here we are not doing any, so the command is just a normal. So it's if I do here who am I, and then priv, you can see I have very less privilege here. Okay, so let's perform the diamond ticket. So first of all, we are making an assumption that we have leaked the credential of the high privilege user. So it's a one of the user from the domain. Let's do, sorry, net user domain, and you can see it's a one of the user from the high priv, and we are assuming, so whenever we do the lateral movement scenario, we will just assume some of the thing. It's a post exploitation, so we can assume many things. So here we are assuming that somehow we managed to leak the hash of the high priv user, and this high priv user is actually the domain admin user. Since it is a domain admin user, we can simply perform the dc sync attack to dump the curb tgt keys. But let's say if there is a user, you have compromised one of the user, and if that user has the dc sync replication privilege enabled, then you can simply perform the dc sync with that particular user as well. So if that user has given the dc sync privilege, then even it's a low privilege user, it can perform the dc sync. And if you have compromised that user, you can simply perform the dc sync attack. But let's just go and open the PowerShell. Let's say we do not know what type of this user is, and we have the credentials. So let's just copy this. So instead of copy, let's just import a tool called PowerView. It's a very useful tool to perform the domain enumerations. So we have the power view imported in our PowerShell session. Now let's just go and read some information about this user that we have compromised. So that we are assuming that we have compromised. And you can see the high privilege user, it's a domain admin. So let's say if it was just a normal user, and if you are just assuming that whether that user has the dc sync privilege or not, what you can do is you can simply perform this method get object acl, and you will go and find whether the same user, the high privilege user, has the dc sync privilege or not. To do that, you are just going to run this command once you import the power view. Let's just copy this, and here the identity that we are looking is the domain itself. You can see cwl.com, and we are resolving every GUIDs and translating it to the readable text. And here we are checking we are checking what sort of privilege do this user has. So let's just paste its SID, and here we are checking what sort of privilege do this user has on this domain. So let's just hit enter, and you can see this user has the dc sync privilege. You can see ds replication, and you might also see another one, ds replication get changes in filter set. You can see this user is a ds replication get change. So these are these privileges. So this user can simply perform the dc sync. So why are we doing the dc sync? Let's say let's just you might be wondering that this is a high privilege user, and we have the hash of the high privilege user as well. So why are we doing the dc sync and then generating the diamond ticket? So it's simple. Let's say in organizations, in organizations, let's say you manage to have the initial access in the organizations, and let's say you are in this situation right now. So there's a chances that the organization has the policy to change the password frequently, let's say in a month. So the user needs to change the password in a month, or user has been given a permission to change their own password. So user can change the password anytime. Let's say whoever the high preview user is, if he changes the password, then this hash is not gonna it's not going to be useful. And to take advantage of this scenario, we will be crafting the ticket instead, because uh, the curve TGT has, so as long as the curve TGT has is not rotated, these tickets it's going to work, because these tickets are signed by the same curve TGT that is currently there. So same key of the curve TGT that is present in the domain right now. So it has a very good lifespan. That's why even after high privilege user, whoever is owning this user, if that guy changes the password, the hash will be different. But if we have a ticket, then if we can generate the or force the if we have the curve hash, and if we can force the diamond ticket, we can simply perform the lateral movement even after the credential is changed for the high privilege user. Now we know that this user has the ability to perform the DC sync, so we just simply go to in packet and then examples. Then we will copy this. So to perform the DC sync attack, we will simply use the secret DOMs, and here we are passing the domain and the user and the target machine and the hash of the high preview user. So if we feed this information, it is going to dump all the hashes of the users that are available in the domain, since we are performing the domain secret dumps in the domain itself. But here we actually looking for the curve TGT AES key. You can see this is the curve TGT AES key, and it is the same that we have documented here. Okay, now let's assume that by doing the DC sync attack, we have retrieved the curve TGT hash or the key. Then we will perform the diamond ticket attack now. So let's assume that we have this ticket. Sorry, we have this AES key. So let's just replace this now here, and then let's just assume that we have the RID of the high privilege user. So if you go here in the previous command where we enumerate this high privilege user, there is a SID, and at the end of the SID you can see there is a 4-digit value. This is the RID of this user. So the RID should match with that user, so we will simply do 1108, and the group where we want to take this user is T512. 512 is actually the domain admin group. So let's just copy this and paste this here. Okay, before doing that, let's just do dc01.cwl.com and see dollar. And you can see it's a permission denied. We cannot access the CIFS service in the DC01. So let's just paste this. So not here. We will be using Revius to perform this attack. You can force the ticket and save it later as well, but here we are directly injecting into the current logon session for the demonstration purpose. Now if I do dir and dc01.cwl.com and see, so now you can save this. You can save this for yourself. It's let's say it's a persistence. For the persistency, you can simply use this key whenever, even if the hash of the high preview user is changed, you can simply use this ticket. You can simply inject it and access the DC01, since we are impersonated as the high privilege user, sorry, the domain user, we can access any machine or any services there. And we will understand what's going on this here very soon. But before that, since here we are not yet done the lateral movement, so we are just playing with the scenarios here. Now what we are doing is we are looking for every possible information that we could gather to move into the another machine in the network. So at this point we have all the informations, all the credentials that are required to move laterally in the target machine. So all we need to do is we need some tool, or if you are really, if you really want to craft your own, you can craft your own as well. But we will be using this PS exec tool, which perform the things over the SMB. Okay, so we do not even need to now provide any credentials here, since the ticket is already injected in the the ticket is already injected into this current logon section. So all we need to do is hit enter, and it will provide us with the um, command cell over the target network, and we are inside the domain controller now. And you can see the IP, it's IP of the domain. So let's just do command here, and if I do ipconfig here, right now the machine that I'm in is the 102, and here we have gained access to the domain controller since we are targeting that machine here in this scenario. If we do cwl.com, you can see the domain IP is 101. Now in the course as well, we have not just explained about the tools and the scenario, we have gone a little bit into the details. So now we have done the diamond ticket, right? So how do you know what's going on, um, what's going on beneath this tool? So what's happening here? So we have also explained that in the course, CELMS course. So let's just briefly discuss here about the diamond ticket. It is explained in the course itself, but here I will go with a very short description for this reviews. So the most important role that plays here is the TGT delegation. It's because you can see this command cell is not privilege cell. It's just a normal privilege cell with a low privilege user. So see, I did that who am I in the beginning as well, but just to confirm, and you can see it has a very high privilege user. To get this ticket, either you need to have the low privilege user credentials, or you need to have the little bit more privilege over this. Let's say, yeah, definitely you will need to have the low privilege user so that you can request a TGT hash from the you can request TGT hash, sorry, you can request the TGT, not hash but the ticket from the domain controller, or you need to have the high privilege so that you can dump the hash of the low privilege user and request the ticket again. However, here we did nothing, we just use this TGT delegation technique here. So what this TGT delegation does is, so let's just forget about this for now. So this TGT delegation, whatever this is doing, it falls in this section only. So after this, it's all these commands, but till here it's only the TGT delegation. So it's doing the magic here. So what it is exactly doing is, let's just discuss this in a brief. So it is abusing the GSS API. So here it is creating a new security context and performing the fake delegation fake delegation request for the target DC01 on the CIFS service. So let me tip off something here about the delegation. So if there is a server and that server is enabled with the unconstrained delegation. Whichever client want to access that server, the client needs to send its forwardable TGT, which is a ticket granting ticket, to the server, so that the server can use that forwardable TGT of the client to access the another resources on behalf of that client. So for that purpose, the client need to send the forwardable TGT to that server so that that server can access another service on behalf of that user. So it is doing similar thing but with the GSS API, by using the GSS API. So here it first initializes the GSS API, which will invoke the TGS request, and which will invoke the TGS request to the domain controller, and uh, the domain controller is the DC01, and it supports the unconstrained delegation. Domain controller is by default enabled with the unconstrained delegation. So after the TGS request, it is going to send the AP request, and that AP request will be inside the GSS API output. So after the successful delegation request, you can see it's looking for the AP request in the GSS API. So at this moment, inside the AP request, there is an authenticator, and inside that authenticator there is a curved grid structure which holds that ticket. So whenever so it will only happen if that service is unconstrained delegation enabled. Otherwise, the curved grid will not be present there. So at this moment, what it is doing is it is just extracting that ticket, and since that is a forwardable ticket and it can be reused, so that's what exactly it is doing, and that is the ticket coming. So that's the ticket which is dumped here in a base 64 encoded. So for this TGT delegation technique, you can see no privilege is required, and this is the TGT of the actually low priv user. So we didn't even pass the credential of the low priv user to get this TGT. You can simply copy this and do PTT, and you will see we can verify this as well. So let's do, we can do PTT, and sorry, before that let's just do klist here. Okay, let's see, high priv. So here only the high priv ticket is here. Sorry, and if I hit enter, you can see the ticket is imported. If I do klist here, you can see it's a low priv user. So we actually got the low priv user ticket here in this section here. Now after that, it will decrypt the TGT. So why it is decrypting the TGT? Because it is encrypted with this curved TGT, and we have the key. That's why it is able to decrypt the ticket. And why it is decrypting? To modify the pack. So currently the pack here is the pack here holds the information of the low priv. Now we will be modifying it with the high privilege user. You can see these informations will be filled there, and after mentioning the high privilege user pack, it is going to sign the pack, and it is going to encrypt that modified TGT. And how it is encrypting? It is encrypting with the TGT key here. So whenever it is sent to the domain controller, it can decrypt it, and it's a valid, since it is encrypted with the same TGT that we dumped from the domain controller. And this is the actual ticket. So this is the actual diamond ticket which got injected, and after that we were able to access this domain controller, and we were able to move laterally using the tools like PSXig. So whenever you got access to any computer in the network, you can simply perform this kind of so you cannot simply perform the lateral movement from there. You need to actually perform many different things to get to the lateral movement part. So even if you have the initial access, you cannot simply do that. So you will be so let's say you will look into you will do enumerations, and let's say if you find such kind of scenario, you can perform the diamond ticket, right? But if you are not in this kind of situation, then there are many other things that you can perform as well, like exploiting the services. If you have the exploit for that vulnerable service that is running in the enterprise, you can exploit that again. But you will vary you might not find the vulnerable services more often, because the applications and services are patched. If there is a vulnerabilities out there in the public, so it will be passed and the software will be updated. That's why it's very rare to not rare, but often we might not find that. Even if we find that, we might not have the exploit for that, so for that service or software, whichever is vulnerable. So let's now move to the slide. So I hope this time the slides are visible. Now I hope you understand the little bit about the diamond ticket. Now here comes the time to announce the CELMS launch. So this is the new course that our team has worked on, and so this course explores the various type of credentials and authentication protocols that might be present there in the real-time scenario, and this course will explore how we can abuse those kind of scenario to move laterally into the another system, from one system to another system. So here of we have critically designed some of the realistic scenario where you can be like a diamond ticket scenario. So here we have realistically designed the scenarios where let's say where we will be assuming that, let's say if you reach to this point, then what can you do to perform the lateral movement from that point. So here we are not just teaching the tool, but we are also teaching the whole scenario that you might be come across when doing the operation. And not only the scenarios and the techniques, we have also gone into the details to understand what that tool is exactly doing. Like we just mentioned the diamond ticket, we just explained what the TGT delegation is, right? So similar to that, if we come across something really interesting techniques like that, we have explained everything about those techniques as well. Not just you will not just learn the tool and the scenarios, but you will also learn the underlying concept of these tools and techniques. So so you will be seeing what that tool is exactly doing when you are performing such kind of scenario. So after completing this course, you will not simply run those commands blindly. You will understand what exactly happening there and what. So let's say there are some complicated terms used as well in this some of the scenarios. So we have explained that techniques and terms in a really detail, so that you when you complete this course, you will be able to understand what that exactly is. And it will not only help in the lateral movement scenario only, but also in the another attacks as well. It will be valid for the another attacks as well, or it can help you in the further research doing in that scenario as well. So you and one thing about this course is that we are not providing the lab. However, we are teaching how you can set up the lab and configure the misconfigurations and how you can exploit it. So just right before we explain about the diamond ticket, right? So what I did was I just jump into the lab and then did something in my lab, and we were able to achieve the diamond ticket. So that is exactly what you are going to do. So you will be configuring your own misconfigurations, and then you will be exploiting that scenarios as well. So this way you will know what misconfigurations are there which might lead you to those scenarios, like a lateral movement that we did in the uh, that we just did in the lab. And we are providing the learning materials, including 250 plus pages of the PDF, and the videos are over 14 hours, and all the videos are ST videos. You will be getting that. And then at the end of this course you will be learning to use some of the tools that can be used for the lateral movement, like the PS exig. Okay, here's some of the highlights. So how we have categorized this course. So we have categorized this course on the basis of the top hierarchy is the external movement and internal movement. So we have bifurcated the content into the two half. One is the external movement and another is the internal movement. So in this external movement scenario, what we are doing is we will not be connecting ourselves to the domain. However, we will be in the same network, or we will be able to gain, we have some level of access to the domain users, but we are not connected to the domain. And how can we move from that situation to the domain users? So that's the one scenario that we have discussed in the lateral movement. And there we have categorized every techniques on the basis of the credentials that we have achieved. One is the user password and hash and tickets. So on the basis of this scenario, and there are a couple of more, so on the basis of these scenarios we have categorized all the techniques and the scenarios, like what will you do when you have the username and password. Also we have also discussed about how can you get such credentials as well. And then here comes the internal movement. So seems like you are doing the same thing, right? But here it will be a little bit complicated than the external movement. Let's say sometimes there in organization you cannot simply access the internal machines with the outside machines, because it will flag you because you are the outsider and you are trying to access the machine or the resources which are the internal, right? So in that case, let's say how we will be talking how from the external you will be moving to the internal, and from that point how will you move from that machine to the another internal machine. So we are not going from the external to the internal again, we are going from the external to internal, and we will be doing internal movement here. Like the TGT delegation scenario, you cannot simply perform TGT delegation while being in the outside network. You need to be in the internal network to perform that. So we have also discussed such kind of scenario as well. Okay, so let's talk about the certification. However, the learning pattern or the learning strategy will be a little bit tougher, but we have created the examination very easier. So what you need to do first is you just need to enroll in the CLMS course, and once you are enrolled you will be configuring your own lab setup so that you can emulate the things or simulate the things in the lab itself. And then you will be going through the videos and PDFs, you will be learning lots of things there. And after whenever you are ready, you can simply take a 24 hours exam. And here we are not going to create a lab on itself, so we will be providing the lab for you. So there you need to perform, you need to take an exam, and then you will be performing everything in that lab, which will be provided by us definitely. And after that there will be the examination. So 24-hour examination, you need to submit that report. So you need to actually submit the report of whatever you did in that 24 hours. And based on the, like, let's say we will be analyzing your report, and if you get the marks of 75%, then you will be you will be assigned with this a credible badge, and you are this certified enterprise lateral movement specialist. And here, for the examination, you need to work a little bit hard, so you will be doing everything in the lab. So what are the prerequisites for this course? So you must need to have the basic knowledge on the networking. You need to have the basic knowledge in the cybersecurity. You might you need some of the hands-on experience of on the tools, like how you do not need to have the knowledge on the such kind of tool, but you at least need to know how to use tools, like how the tools work when you perform something. Like let's say if you see the tools, almost all the tools have the same pattern. You just run the command, and then you pass some patterns, sorry, you pass some parameters, whatever you want to do. So that's the thing you do there. And then you will need, and one little bit high prerequisite that you require is to you need to have the general understanding of the Active Directory. And if you know a little bit of the Active Directory attack, then it's really good. But yeah, at least if you know how to set up the Active Directory, or if you know a little bit basic of the Active Directory, then it will be really helpful. However, all the lab setup we will be guiding through the video. That's why there is no issue for that. But if you have a prior knowledge in the Active Directory, it will be more helpful. So who are the target audience for this course? Generally, whoever wants to learn or upskill themselves, they can simply enroll in this course. But general audience that we are expecting is the red team and penetration testers, system administrators, and students and aspiring cybersecurity professionals who want to learn more and upskill their skills, and also the cybersecurity enthusiasts and the researchers who love to do the researchers and who are always active to do some research. So these are all the target audience, but anyone can enroll in this course who want to upskill their knowledge. Okay, so we are giving the five giveaways to the five lucky users. So five lucky users, whoever has joined in this webinar um, will get the access to the CELMS course. And also we are providing this coupon CELMS 10 off, and when buying this course you will get 10% off in this CELMS course. And also you will be getting the webinar attendance certificate since you have attended the webinar. And also the webinar recording and PPT will be uploaded, and once this is uploaded you will have access to the webinar and recordings. Okay, so thank you everyone, and if you have any questions then you can simply ask. Okay, I'm going through the questions here. Mm, okay, so here I'm going through the questions. So if you have any questions then we can drop this in the question section. So what is the ticket user ID? Ticket user ID is the RID of the user which we want to impersonate. So I think there I have mentioned the SID. So at the end of the SID there will be the last um, the last digit of the values, that is the RID value of the user, and that is what we are passing in the ticket user RID. Okay, exam price, two attempts are free, and after that, I think you need to make a few payment to reschedule the exam. But two initial exam attempts are free. So is this course enough to pass the exam? Okay, so mostly yes, but you might need to do little bit extra work to pass the exam. A winner will be announced shortly, and you can keep yourself updated in the LinkedIn. So the system requirements to set up the lab, mm, probably 16 GB RAM, and then around 150 GB of the space will be enough. Okay, so how will you win the giveaway? Okay, so it will be chosen by our team. So it's on lock as well, I would say. Okay, and I'm really sorry that we had a little inconvenience in the technical part. So I'm really for that, uh, but I'm really thankful that most of you guys are still here. Okay, I'll be here for 2 or 3 minutes. If you guys have any questions, you can ask till then I'll be replying. And winners will be announced shortly. Please be updated in the LinkedIn. And thank you everyone for loving this webinar even after the inconvenience. And I'm really um, happy that I see this much of support even after that incident. So I'm really happy that you guys all stayed here. Okay, seems like lots of persistent required to retain lateral movements and ECs. Yeah, so you cannot simply just move from the machine wherever you get the initial access, you actually need a lot of things. You might need to perform the privilege escalation to dump some credentials, or maybe you might need to be in some scenarios, or you might need to abuse some of the misconfiguration so that you will get something really juicy to abuse that to move laterally in the network. So okay, the duration of those courses. Okay, the duration of this course is around 14 hours. I guess you can cover it in the 1 to 2 months. Okay, so the most of the tools that are used in the course are already packed and will come along with the enrollment. Yeah, so let's say how did we learn from the beginning about the Active Directory? Yeah, so to learn the Active Directory from the beginning, you actually need to set up the lab itself. First, if you need to understand what are the configurations that you can make in the Active Directory, since it's packages that you are going to install in on top of the Windows operating system. So you need to learn like how to set up the things and how to configure the Active Directory itself. And after that, let's say you will learn something what are all the configurations. If you do, then that can you will also know if you do something that can be abused or that might not be abused while doing sort of things. And after that, you will start with the domain enumerations, probably, because enumerations is a very useful, and you will try to find some of the misconfigurations that you did in the lab. And there are bunch of setup and scenarios that you can create on yourself in the lab setup, and then you can perform it as well. So in the business, yeah, if the let's say if some of the users are compromised, then uh, that's the way how attacker goes. Let's say there's an enterprise, and then um, if it is able to compromise one of the user, then it is definitely the attacker might definitely try to move forward from there. So they actually want the higher privilege and the resources that are in the business. So they can even leak the businesses, they can even ransomware the whole server. If they reach up to the servers, they can ransomware the server. So lots of things can happen. Is this course be helping someone to get a freelance job? Okay. mm, about the job, it depends on the market wherever you are. So let's say if the market is demanding such kind of skills that you possess, then definitely you might get. But it depends on the area wherever you are and whatever the current trend going on in the market for the freelance. Okay, do we have access to the slides? Yeah, you can get access to these current slides, but to get the premium slide, you need to enroll in the course. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining this webinar. So I will be ending the session now. So hope to see you all of you guys in another webinar session as well. Okay, someone want to ask anything? Because I can see someone raising the hand. Okay, thank you everyone. So we are ending this session now. Yeah, thank you.